Okay, everyone. So in this final piece, I just want to try to sort of close the loop on the objective here, which was, again, we're ultimately trying to dissociate the content from the structure of our page. So I just want to point out to you all that objects, okay? Objects are great because they're very, very versatile. They let us create structured data, right? Not necessarily, right, data that has order, because there are a lot of things that don't have order per se, or they can't be ordered, I guess. But objects are really useful because we can actually start to nest and combine other data types within objects, including objects within objects, so that we can create structured data that contains, say, information about an article that we might want to have on our page. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create just a new variable here so we don't lose the example of the other. So I'm going to say my art. I need to say variable, right? Because I need to say, look, create a new space in memory. So my articles, okay? And well, what do I know about my articles? Well, I'll start with my article. I'll start with one article, right? Well, what features does an article have for me? It has a title. What might that value be? Well, I think I could probably use this one, right? So well, it's got a title, and it also has a URL, right? It's a location, and the value of that URL could be this, for example. It might be. Oops, lost my cursor spot there. Okay. Might have an image associated with it. You notice everything is encased in quotes in the object. That is the style. Everything is considered part of a string. I have an image source here. Oops, if I can get it. This is one of the reasons why I want to get it out of this HTML. It's pretty tricky having it in here. Okay. So keep doing that. All right. So, and there's the image, and then of course. I could say summary. Just pretend there's a summary here, right? You are going to have that. Okay. So all of a sudden we see that I have an object, right? That like has some kind of interesting stuff in it. And in fact, if I could say, my article 1. I could say my article 2. Right? And I could duplicate, I could say that, my article 2 is going to be the second one. I'm not going to change all of the features here. I think you get the idea. I could say, okay, well, the title of the second one is this, and modify it. And in fact, though, what's nice is that I don't even have to do that. Now, I could, in this case, what do I have? I have 2 articles. So actually what I probably would want to do is I would probably want to make these into a list. Right? So rather than having, 2 separate objects, two separate variables, right? I can just have one list in which each item is an object. Right? That's a little, does that make sense? We'll go over all of this in class, and if you have questions off the bat, please feel free to share the post in the chats or something. But I think hopefully you kind of see what's happening here. This is actually a list. Right? And I kind of built it from the ground up so it's a little easier to see what was happening, right? Because I have 2 articles, I can just do that. So this is an example. Oops, and all the way at the end, I have my semicolon, right? It's like all the way. This is a JavaScript object. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this, and this is essentially the same thing as our JavaScript object notation, or JSON, which is where we are generally going to store content. Okay, so we haven't quite the piece that we'll do next week. So not this lesson, but the lesson after, right? Is how do we then take this data that we've kind of nicely condensed? You know, it's all the same content basically that's currently embedded in all this HTML. We'll address how we take it from this structure to actually putting it on the web page so that we can remove it from our HTML. But again, I just want to emphasize that these are these are kind of simple concepts, right? But when you start putting them together with intent, right, with sort of an object in mind or an objective in mind, you can very quickly see how it can become useful, and I can store features of things together. So this is JSON. This is essentially JSON, and we'll go over kind of the formatting of JSON and stuff, but I just want to point out again, if I come back here, I need to reload, okay, and I can say, what do I call it, my articles, right? It's showing me, okay, this is an array of objects, it's a list of objects, so it's an array with length 2. Inside, now because they're complex data types, it just says object, right? It's not going to write out everything yet. I can go into the object and it'll say, oh, it has these attributes, right? It has image, summary, title. And here are the values, by the way. You notice that they're not showing up here in the same order in which I entered them. They're alphabetized. So just a thing that this console does when we view things through it, but hasn't transformed what's back here. These are still in the same order that I gave them. So again, this is sort of at the moment we're kind of like in thinking cap space, but hopefully you can see how this is building to a place where I could actually, once we go over how we get it from once we start working on the sort of the interactive part instead of just the content part of JavaScript, what we're going to do is we're going to use data that is formatted like this, and that's how we're going to keep it. We're going to keep it away from our HTML, and then we're going to use a little bit more JavaScript to actually get it onto the page, into that HTML structure. So that's it for this week. Don't know if you have questions. Certainly if you do, if you want to talk about them before class, feel free. Now, I was doing a lot of terrible things here. Not very descriptive names, not very good content, zero commenting, right? All things that you all are going to do better than I have in your assignments for this week, for next week, I should say. But as I said, wanted to kind of just get this stuff introduced. So my final step here, of course, and I've done a lot of stuff, is I want to make sure that, I'm on Kathy's computer, very nice of her to have lent it to me, but I want to make sure I get this stuff back up to my Git repo, okay? So again, just to see where I'm at, I'm going to use a Git status, and it's going to say, by the way, you've modified that newsfeed page again since the last time that you saved it. Now, since you committed it. So I'm going to say git commit, and I'm actually going to use the name. I want to make clear that I'm only modifying that newsfeed HTML. So again, I can still use that tabbing trick. So I just start to say news, and I can say tab, and it'll complete it. And then again, I always have to have a message, okay? If you forget this, you're going to get bounced into that weird editor thing that we encountered when I tried to correct the name on this. So I'm going to say added a list, added examples of variable types, and built a 2-item array of my article data. Okay, done. And let's see. All right, let's try this again. It's still giving me this message. I thought I did the thing that I was supposed to, but I am going to use this command that it's given me. Again, I'm going to make this Tau Center because this isn't my computer. I don't think Kathy is going to be using doubled something up. So if I want to get back to the last command that I used, I can actually use the up arrow key, and I can't click inside this, but what I can do is I can use my mouse, and I can obviously just somehow double copied something here. That's better. That seems to have worked. So the thing about terminal is it's what I like to call a no news is good news kind of thing. If you hit return and like you don't get any output, it doesn't spit anything back at you. Usually it means things are fine. In fact, it always means things are fine, basically, or like, yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to do this, but I'm going to say email. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to say I don't even know if it's a real email address, but there we go. Okay. So I'm going to do my commit again just to make sure it went through. Okay, so now it's saying your branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit. What's origin master? Origin master is, origin is a convention. It means the version of this stuff that's on the internet, okay? Master is the master branch. It's basically, it's the word, it's weird because it's called the master branch. It's more like the trunk. I don't know why they go with a tree metaphor. It kind of makes sense, but it also gets weird later on. In any case, what they're saying is, hey, anytime you see this, your branch is ahead of origin master by some number of commits. What it's saying is, look, the local copy, right? Because until I say push, you can think of push as upload, okay? Same difference. Same thing, actually. Push and upload are the same thing. So until you push, in other words, upload your changes, they only exist on the local computer, right? On this machine that I'm going to have to get back in a little bit. So I want to make sure that I do that. So it's saying, look, you've got stuff that has happened that's been saved on this computer, but you haven't put it into the cloud yet. So, make sure you do that if you want to not lose it. Or, if you want it to be in the cloud, basically accessible in the cloud. So I'm going to say, sure, I'm going to say git push origin master. So again, git is just the name of the program. We're just telling the computer, use the git program to do this. Push or upload. Origin is the URL to the URL that you have associated with this, this particular git folder, with this particular folder of work, and then master is to the main chunk of stuff. Okay, and it's going to do this, and I entered my username and password a little while ago, and it still remembers it, so it usually will remember it for a while. Oops, just leaning on the keyboard there. And then again, I can come back here, and if I reload my page, sorry, that commit is not going to change. I go back to main repo, you can say, oh, okay, here we go. 4 minutes ago, added examples of variable types. Oops, I have a typo in my commit message there. Variable types and built a 2-item array of my article data. I can look at the file, right? Again, this is just going to show me the current version with all of my changes. But if I look at the history, I can see what was edited. And so if I click here, it's going to say, hey, you added all this JavaScript, right? Now, again, it's only showing me the parts that have changed, right? So if it's not in this window, then the assumption is, then my understanding is that it hasn't changed since the last commit. Anyhow, that is that. I look forward to working with you all on this next week. And at the moment, even more so, being out of the Ottawa airport sometime soon. So hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon.